What is up, guys, and welcome to the Central Youth Project Podcast. For those of you that don't know, my name is Dan Flanagan, and I'm the Next Gen pastor here at Central Faith Church. I am joined alongside Leeam.
Hello.
Patrick.
Yo.
And Mikalah.
Hello.
She's the Mex. So we're going to start off with a couple icebreakers. Icebreaker number 1. Would you rather be a master of every musical instrument or be fluent in every language?
Instrument. Well,
that was fast. Final answer.
If you're a master of musical instruments, wait, singing isn't an instrument. That's not how that works.
No.
If there was singing in there, you probably would think it. I would do languages for sure.
Yeah, I think I would do languages because there's kind of a beauty in different languages. I mean, you can always still learn how to play different instruments.
Can't learn languages. It's not.
No.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it would be a lot easier, I think, to learn an instrument than learn a language.
I think that's the thing.
She's right.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is, like, if I think about, like, music instruments, I'm like, oh, there's, like, one or two I would be interested in, like, learning.
Yeah.
But languages, I'm like, it would be nice to be, like, in an airport and hear, like, 5 different people speaking 5 different languages and know what they're saying. Like, that's really useful.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't like the white dude that knows Swahili?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
Is there somebody who doesn't?
All right, so I'm languages.
Yeah, languages.
With my career choice, I'd have to go languages because I'm gonna be a pilot.
Yeah.
You gotta make small talk, you know, with the Swahilians.
Yeah.
What?
Okay, we're gonna move on. Icebreaker number 2. Would you rather live in a zoo or a roller coaster park?
Roller coaster
Like
park.
a theme park?
100%.
Or just, it's all roller coasters?
Just all roller coasters.
Would you rather deal with crappy people or crappy animals? Literally, crappy animals.
Wouldn't the zoo be both and?
Yeah.
That is true.
But I would do zoo because zoo at least there's like usually like quiet places where you can be peaceful and like get some like some zen time, like hang out with the giraffes.
You could go to the bathroom.
Be like,
I hear those are pretty quiet.
what's up?
What the heck?
Hey, quiet bathrooms at roller coaster parks. All right, so I would do zoo. What about you guys?
I already said mine.
You did?
Yeah, I
Zoo?
said roller coaster. 100%.
Hands down, sleep in one.
Yes.
But you could stare at the cute otters and animals.
You only say that because that's my favorite animal.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, I guess never mind.
Apparently you don't know her. Wow.
Ouch.
That's what the icebreakers are for.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that?
Familial
Birthday
conflict. Birthday ideas.
I think a zoo would be cool.
Okay. 2 zoo, 1 roller coaster. Patrick?
Why are you thinking
Can I
so
get a
hard
split?
about this?
Have some monkeys
I'd
ride
like
on
to
the
do
coaster.
my weekdays at the zoo and my weekends at the roller coaster park.
I'll probably go with coaster park.
Coaster? Just coaster?
Coaster.
No
A coaster.
roller?
No rollers, just
Yeah.
coast. Okay.
There's no drink stains on any table. Alright, dad joke aside. Icebreaker number 3. Alright. If our state was represented by just one food, what would it be?
Well, it's represented by a drink, which is coffee.
Yeah.
So if
Well-
it was a food.
Coffee
Well,
beans.
okay, but is a
Cheater.
Is a drink considered food or not? Because it gets
Okay,
under
that's
the
an icebreaker
category
question for a
sometimes.
couple weeks from now.
Alright, fine.
Write it down.
Alright.
What is like unique to this?
Birds.
No. No.
I went straight to Seahawks, and I was like, what? Seagulls? We could eat seagulls. And they call it a food.
That's weird.
That's terrible.
Agreed.
Let's see.
I'm glad we're on
I
agreement.
feel like sushi or something like that would be
No.
like. You don't think sushi?
Well,
No,
I mean,
I
like,
mean-
we're...
It's like
pretty,
seafood,
like,
Northwest, like
what's
Seattle's all
always
like
wet?
trendy.
Yeah, okay, I think it'd be seafood though.
Yeah.
Like
It has to be
fish or
seafood something.
Yeah.
Like you have the pier.
I mean,
like,
if you look at Pike Place Market though, they always sell fish there. Like
Yeah.
all the
Mikalah,
time.
you're doing
what's the
Pacific Northwest history. What's cool about Washington?
yeah.
Yeah.
Bark?
Educators.
Salmon.
So we would be a salmon.
Yeah.
Salmon skin roll. Perfect. All right,
No, I
we're
think
gonna
that would
move
be
on
the-
to the discussion.
That's probably a good idea.
All right, so today we just talked about Proverbs chapter 3, verses 11 through 20. The title of the message was Benefits and Correction. The first question is, have you ever experienced God's loving correction? Or have you had a friend or family member that's experienced this? What was the experience like?
Get the water out of your mouth.
And speak properly.
There's no talking with your mouth full in a podcast.
Exactly.
I don't think that would work very well with water.
Probably not.
Yeah, no. You could be gargling. You could be the gargle lady.
Okay, and we're back on track.
Stop going off topic.
So, have you ever experienced God's loving correction, or had a friend or family member experience this? So, like, if you have not experienced that or can't recall one, can you recall one that has happened in your vicinity?
Nope.
And then, what was the experience like?
Although I can't remember like a specific one that happened, I do remember that I've gone through that, and it sucked a lot because I just felt really stupid afterwards.
Yeah.
And it was just like, dang, how did I not realize that? And then other times it was like, why didn't I just listen, sort of thing, instead of trying to go and do my own thing,
Mm.
and then getting kicked in the butt. That's kind of what it feels like.
God's heavenly shoe right up your butt.
Getting kicked in the butt by God.
It's a spiritual kick.
It's a big spiritual shoe.
I think it'd be more of a sandal.
Oh my goodness.
Here we go.
All right. So, Patrick, Liam, you got anything?
No. Nothing that I can really
No.
Nothing I can really identify as a specific, like, oh, man, that was God doing that.
Yeah.
I got you.
I've had points where, like, I felt like major guilt after I did it. But I don't remember what it was. But I remember that feeling of just, like, your insides almost wanting to, like, crush itself.
Like a conviction of the Holy Spirit?
Yeah, that one.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I can't figure out where that was.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember like an actual instance, but I do remember like
And a
that
friend or
feeling.
family member hasn't been like, hey,
that.
I got
sucked.
kicked in the butt by God the other day.
We should pick different verbiage.
Man, that's spiritual sin.
Well, so that'll be the title of this podcast.
Oh,
Spiritual
yeah.
sin. Oh, that's awesome. All right. Yeah, so for me, I can think of multitudes, dozens of times this has happened in my life, where I've experienced God's correction through a million different things. Typically, we just call them now like the storms of life, is something like my wife and I will call it. And it's funny because, like, in the beginning of our marriage, you can see like so many different storms, and there's so many different things that happen in fights and arguments, and you feel terrible, and you're wrestling with this sin, and you're losing, and you're sucking, and like all these different things are happening. And in the moment, it's overwhelming. It's depressing. It's you're just anxious, and at the end of the day, you get through the storm. And when you're a couple years down the road, you can look back at those moments and be like, "Holy cow! Like, I am a completely different person than I was 4 years ago." And the person that I was 4 years ago could not do what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that I had to get a spiritual sandal in order to be.
We gotta frame that up in here. Like, buy like a flip flop or something. Paint it brown.
I'll just buy it, brown.
That too.
Again,
All
all
right.
Paint
right.
back brown sandal.
All right, next question.
So,
So, what is our typical response to discipline and correction, and why?
Guilt. Is my first. Well, that's the first thing I feel. It's like guilt that ever happened. But then it's like,
I think in the past it's kind of been like despising the discipliner.
The disciplinee despises the
You're the
discipliner.
disciplinee.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, despising, maybe
Yeah,
guilt.
to some extent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fair.
almost like a how could you make me feel this bad
Mm.
kind of thing.
And why is it my fault?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know that, like, one of the typical responses for me whenever I would be corrected or have some sort of discipline from a parental source as well as just from God, it feels like my go-to is this, like, overwhelming shame. And then, like, my fight or flight instinct kicks in, and I just want to run. And I'm like, run! like that's all I can think. And so that's definitely my response. And I think all of those different responses just come from our own need and desire to control.
Mhm.
And I think that when you're being disciplined or corrected, that you're out of control in those moments. What's happening to you is completely out of your control.
Yeah.
And so because of that, your sinful nature wants to, like, Hulk smash its shirt. And by doing that, I mean, we define it as, like, the fight or flight instinct. And like, we either despise the person that's correcting us, we can get angry, we can get aggressive, we can be disdainful. Like, how dare you? How could you?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you understand? We can also have the flight instinct kick in, where we're like, run away, quick, shame, guilt, overwhelmed, anxiety, help.
Yeah.
And all of those are our will, our desire to control the situation.
I think for me another one is annoyance, which eventually leads to, like, anger
Mm.
too, because it's like I don't want to, like, feel like I'm doing something wrong or be made wrong, you know.
Yeah.
But even if you are the one in the wrong, you're still like, well, I did it, and I don't want to, like, I don't know, get attacked for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and like it's kind of we talked about in the teaching, right? We can even look at God's correction like it's troublesome.
Mhm.
Like, it's time consuming. You're like, okay, like, can we just, like, move on? Like, I get it. I suck. Like, I suck at this piece of life. Like, can we just move on? Can we just go, you know, and, like, do this? Like, or can we not focus on that? Like, I'm doing so good in so many other areas. Why can't you just focus on the fact that I'm doing good? And I mess up one time. Like, I'm doing so good in my life for someone my age in this area of life. And I mess up one tiny, teeny time, and all of a sudden it's like the bludgeoning hammer comes down on me. And again, that's where, like, our spirit is fighting in those moments, right? We're not in control, and we don't think it's fair, right? We're like, in that moment, you're like, you're doing the comparison game. I'm doing so good. I know that I messed up, but I'm doing so good. But, like, if you're in front of a judge and, like, you ran over a kitten in your car, and you're like, but judge, I haven't got any speeding tickets, and I haven't done all these things. He's like, but you ran over something. Like, it doesn't change the fact you ran over something. You have a clean driving record, and maybe that'll make your punishment, like, not as severe, but there has to be a consequence.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Question number 3. How can discipline be loving?
If it's probably, like, constructive, I would say. Like, if it's for the better of the person to, like, keep something bad from happening to that person, if they continue doing something that you tell them not to, and you, like, prevent them from doing that, then I think that's probably a productive way to do it. It's like love the person enough to prevent damage.
So basically, you're disciplining out of love
Yes.
towards them.
Mm.
Really?
What would non-constructive discipline look like? Just for fun.
I think, like, well, like, just from what I'm seeing, is, like, you know, like, totally bringing someone down and, like, calling them an idiot, basically, for everything they're doing. Like, they're not even trying to, like, show them the right way. They're just telling them how wrong they did things and, like, focusing on that only.
Yeah.
So, like, let's put it into context with me, right? I have a couple small kids. Little Juju, right?
Mhm.
It is my parental, divine-given duty to discipline her.
Yeah.
And to train her up in the right ways. And so it is my right to spank my child. That is my right. But with that, disciplining lovingly looks very different than disciplining non-lovingly. For instance, just because I have the right to discipline her and give her a spanking doesn't mean that I should do it in the middle of a grocery store.
Yeah.
Right? Because what's that going to do? It's going to give her shame. It's going to put her on display in front of people in a very vulnerable place. I don't need to demean her in that, right? If I'm explaining something that she did wrong, I don't need to belittle her or demean her. I also need to be careful that when I'm disciplining, I'm not identifying her with her sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is a sin that you have committed. You are not your sin.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of ways you can easily discipline and not be loving. And people don't even realize it.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy the thought and the depth that you can go into with a simple question of how can discipline be loving or not loving? And even at that level, right, there's God's wisdom level, right? We don't know the depths of this, which his love is so ridiculous. We can never understand the expanses of it. And yet we have the audacity in our humanness to like be like, stub my toe. How could you guys? Like seriously though. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Totally.
Oh man. All right. So how would you explain this concept to the culture of our world today?
You just did a pretty good job.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fine. All right. I love this one. So, what does it mean? I didn't even finish the next question. That's funny. What does it mean that God's discipline will hurt, but will never harm us?
I can think of like abuse, like domestic abuse and stuff like that. That can leave emotional scarring. Whereas disciplining, like spanking, is surface level and is meant to teach instead of to
Torment.
Sure.
Something like that.
That makes sense.
Nice. I like
Yeah.
the dark one word.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it's like one thing that happens really hard, like it's a real kick in the butt, but he doesn't keep kicking you in the butt for months on end every day, kind of thing.
Unless you
keep doing it.
Unless you keep doing it. Unless you ain't getting the message.
Then he might bring out the hand. You don't want that.
The sandal shouts return. That's funny. All right, let's move on to discussion number 2. So, how does the world define a happy life?
Money.
Yeah, I was gonna say money and like how accomplished you are, basically.
Yeah. What will live on after you die?
Kind of like almost like a legacy.
Yeah. Got a statue?
God, it's you could use like the got milk t-shirts.
Statue.
Statue?
You got anything, Liam?
Yeah. Money's a big one. I wouldn't say legacy defines a happy life, like what you're leaving behind. It's very in the now.
True.
And what you're focused on today. How much money you can get now, not necessarily how much that neglectful parents are willing to leave for their children.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I like it. So, how does the Bible define a happy life?
One full of wisdom.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, full of wisdom.
Yeah.
And understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And just living in God in general.
Yeah, exactly what you just said on your piece of paper.
That one
Off podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's easy.
You're describing all these wonderful things that come from having knowledge and understanding and wisdom.
Yeah.
And that's the definition of a happy life according to the Bible. And it also includes the world's definition, but on a biblical scale.
I like it. All right. How does the devil try to twist the Bible's definition and make us compliant, complacent, or lazy in our lives?
I think one of the things when like you read the Bible and it says you will prosper, I think a lot of people think like money wise, and I think that's partially like the devil trying to like twist the words a little bit. Because just because you prosper doesn't mean it's money. It means like just prospering like through happiness and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think that might be one. I don't know for sure. It could just be the way people see it, but yeah.
Yeah. So to clarify on that one, it's kind of a both and, right? So the prosperity concept is one of prosperity both in just like in your life as well as God providing for you. But it's kind of in the context I've told you guys. But I mean, at least I've told Leeam for sure before, like in Bree and I's personal life, how 5 years ago we were making twice what we're making now, like maybe more than twice, or double would be the correct word. And we were like struggling to get by. It felt like we had like just enough, and we are now making half as much financially, and yet God has blessed us with so much more, and we have accrued more financial, material blessings than when we had double the money.
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, the concept that gets twisted with that you were trying to pinpoint, which is the concept that, like, the world says, like, thou shalt have a pool full of money. And God says, like, no, like, I will make whatever you make the correct amount for you to live a blessed life.
Yeah.
Whether it's $200,000, $50,000, whatever I end up, like, allowing you to make will be the perfect amount.
Yeah.
If you trust me. So yeah, I think that's a great one with that. So how else? How does the devil try to twist the Bible's definition and make us compliant, complacent, or lazy in our lives?
Probably something maybe like if you do like a little less sins, you'll get like half the prosperity. Something like that, you know?
Oh, like an equation.
Yeah. Like, if you just do this one sin instead of both, then you'll get half the money, but you'll still be fine.
I got you. So, like, if you're doing 12 sins, but you subtract 1, you get to add 1 to your wealth on the other side of the equation sign.
Exactly.
It's like you're justifying it.
I got you.
Yeah.
What?
So what
Patrick?
Patrick's trying to talk about is the concept of, like, the closer you get to living the correct life or whatever, the more like blessed you'll be in a way, but in the unbiblical sense. So like, if I can get this sin under control, then I can get a car kind of concept. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Or like if I will sacrifice this part of my life, God will provide the education for me. God will provide.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like you give up one thing to get another.
It's like forcing God into a box.
Yeah, they call it like, what is it? Like it's like the genie in the lamp theology.
Yeah.
Like if I will rub the lamp just right, I'll get my wish.
Oh.
I
knew we were gonna land that plane. I knew it.
The genie.
That's funny.
Gotcha.
Genie in the
No, it wasn't the
theology.
genie.
Okay.
No, but it makes sense.
Cool.
Perfect.
Great.
All right. So God is revealing himself through his creation always. What are some of the ways that stand out to you the most?
Well, I'm writing a big paper about habitability in space right now. So I'm going over like the galactic habitable zone, where like the best place to be is, and how close the planets are to the star, and how that affects the atmosphere and all that stuff. Yeah.
Hey, we talked about that.
And I think that's like a crazy way. Like that's one of the perfect ways to look at it, because I've been going over all of that stuff, and it's like a planet has to be in the perfect spot in relation to its star. And it has to be rotating at the right speed to get a perfect atmosphere, and then water can exist, but then you got to have life on top of that. So water does not imply life. It just allows it to happen.
Science.
And it's just crazy to think about that. We think that some just like blew everything into being. And all those planets just formed right in this right spot, the Earth. And now we got perfect atmosphere, life, water, trees, everything.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
argument
like-
for a creator is a very easy one, I feel like, to
Yeah.
Mhm.
be able to argue nowadays.
Definitely. I think I see it mostly in like either the most calmest of moments or like right next to an ocean where the waves are like crashing or a thunderstorm or something like that. Like it's either in the most calm spot that you can find where you're like in the middle of the woods or something and all you can hear are birds and like wind coming through the trees, or it's in those times where it's like it's so loud you can't like even hear your thoughts sort of thing.
Mm.
I think that's like one of the things where I see like him revealing himself.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
No, yeah, mine was space related as well. I really like everything to do with all the. I really like light speed related things.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool how the speed of the universe relative to everything else around it all goes together perfectly.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
You got all that time dilation stuff. Where if you go like close to the
Relativity.
speed of light,
Yeah.
you like don't experience as much time. That's also what I'm writing about too.
Interesting
It's
stuff.
So you guys are saying black hole, and I'm like, yeah.
Big sucky vacuum.
Is that the clinical definition of that?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I would say nature for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Like being out in nature, like in those calms. And I feel like it's because our minds are so busy,
Mhm.
right? And so it's so easy to not see God. I might be able to see it a little more with my kids now.
Mhm.
I feel like where like there's a moment where like my daughter will say a sentence, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, you're a person. And not that I didn't know she was a person, but like just to see
Yeah.
that like crazy growth before your very eyes, you're
Yeah.
just like,
Totally.
what?
And then when you like get into thinking about it, like for instance, like birdsong, there's so many different processes that go into like just like a chirp,
Yeah.
and you have to think about like all that has to work perfectly, and just things like that. It's interesting.
Diversity of literally everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like
We have
It's-
so many different just types of trees.
so many
It's
plants.
nuts.
Yeah.
So always have
Trees.
you.
The ocean.
Yeah.
We've explored so little of the ocean,
Mm.
and we can't even, as of right now, we can't even begin to comprehend what the rest of it's like.
Don't even get me started on that.
That's kind of
It's
creepy
crazy.
still.
It's like
Yeah.
outer space, but
On the planet.
in the water.
Yeah.
You're
Makes you
what?
wonder
Like,
why we're leaving this planet and staying
Oh.
here.
nuts.
Conspiracy.
That's so funny. All right. So, last week you were given a practical wisdom challenge.
Oh yeah. We definitely didn't miss that.
Did you succeed?
Yeah.
What?
You don't remember? We've been doing it daily.
Reading the Bible.
Oh,
as a
yeah. I thought you were talking about something else.
Bible
Yeah.
plan.
Okay.
How's it been going?
Going great.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Patrick has missed a couple days.
No.
Whoa!
I did Fridays,
Shots fired.
but I went to the movies, so I missed it. So I did it Saturday afternoon, and I missed Saturdays, and I got to do Sundays.
Yeah. Movies. It's hard.
Yeah, and I went to Leeam.
Couldn't do it in person
No,
together. That
that
would be
would've
way
been
too
weird.
much work.
I actually did it while you were doing your placements.
Why did you It's like, hey,
You're
Patrick!
doing fine.
Dude, you're popping off. I don't need to read the Bible right now.
Okay, so next time. All right, cool. So, will you guys be continuing this week?
I'd say so.
So, what are you guys reading through?
Romans.
Yeah,
That's what they decided they wanted to do. So I was like, okay.
I didn't know. So I just said,
didn't
hey,
know.
Romans, it's a book.
Nice. How's the Romans
Yeah, I got
going?
that right, Patrick.
What stood out to you the most so far in your reading time?
Probably how we are not the sin, and it's the sin living in us that causes us to sin. You know? It's not us sinning. It's the sin causing us to sin. If that makes any sense.
I had a brainception. I didn't.
It's not the sin, it's the sin, okay?
No comprehend it, but I'm glad you're getting some good stuff.
Are you talking about human nature is sinful?
Yeah. Like, how it's just like a habit passed down. And it's not really complete. I got some eyes.
Dude, just...
So it's kind of like the point earlier, how we said, like, you don't identify as your sin. Is that kind of what you're
Yeah,
saying?
Yeah.
that's what he was trying to
Yeah.
say.
There you go. Brainception avoided. We landed the ship.
I think my mentality actually goes down as it gets warmer.
It does get warmer
It is
here.
getting hot.
Yeah.
I'm sweating.
We've been experimenting ever
Maybe
since
I
last
should
night.
take my scarf off.
Experiment.
It probably does keep like
Your
some heat
neck
in
is so red.
there. You have a very long red neck.
Whoa!
I didn't know because you had a scarf on.
It's like your shoulders just like had a bump and some sort of weird tumor.
Okay.
Anyways.
So for you guys, what stood out the most in Romans?
I'm trying to remember what I've read.
It's the most confusing book I think of
Yeah.
all time.
Information.
How many? Yeah. So that Romans would take me, if I was like studying it, it would take me a while to get through.
Yeah, no kidding.
So like, how many days is your guys' study?
8.
Yeah. We do 2 chapters a day.
Spicy.
Yeah. So it's like you're just trying
Yeah,
to read
you're
into it.
trying to get like an
Yeah.
overall feeling of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's probably what we'll do. We might even do like look
Do
for
it
some
again,
more
but like a month.
that, or we could find like a certain plan that like focuses more on like certain chapters of Romans.
Yeah,
and
like an
explains it.
in-depth of Romans.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. It's kind of like how like before like we read a book of the Bible, we always do look at like the Bible Project video for like the Bible book or whatever, and then are you staring at the
That looks kind of weird.
Okay. Either way,
Yeah.
the Bible Project video gives you like a synopsis. It gives you a
Mhm.
feeling of
Yeah.
what the book's going to be about, and then you can read into it, and it kind of gives you like a
Yeah, totally.
soft landing in the beginning.
Yeah. You can kind of figure out what you're getting into.
Yeah. But it's definitely been interesting because there's been all sorts of different information in there, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint one exact.
Yeah. There's like so much information.
Yeah, you get a
It's hard
lot
to even
from
narrow it
it.
down from the 2 chapters.
I was about to say, yeah, I'm like thinking about it. Like Romans 1, 2, and 3 kind of all go together
Mhm.
off the top of my head. Those ones make sense.
Yeah, totally.
we know what you're talking about.
What
Dan.
were they about again?
That's funny. All right, so let's move on. Last bit. So we're going to read through the entire scripture, and then we'll discuss our favorite verse and why. Liam?
Yeah.
You got the Bible.
Hit him with it.
My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline or be weary of his reproof. For the Lord reproves him whom he loves, as a father the son in whom he delights. Blessed is the one who finds wisdom and the one who gets understanding, for the gain from her is better than gain from silver, and her profit better than gold. She is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand. In her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who lay hold of her. Those who hold her fast are called blessed. The Lord by wisdom founded the earth. By understanding he established the heavens. By his knowledge the deeps broke open, and the clouds dropped down the dew.
I think the part I liked was half of the verse. But it was where it said wisdom brings peace.
Mm.
I feel like it's really comforting to know that
Mm.
because it feels like when you're trying to understand wisdom and everything that comes with that, it always feels really stressful and you feel like you're not doing it very well. Whereas here, it's explaining like once you find it, it's going to bring you a lot of peace, sort of thing. Which is something I really need.
Yeah. You know, that's real. That's real. Well, you got me, chachos.
Reading again.
Just looking over Liam's shoulder.
That's
I think it's cool that it says in 19, the Lord by wisdom founded the earth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Because he did it through wisdom. And It's cool.
A man of many
That's
words.
good.
I think I might be contagious.
Yeah.
Uh,
I like it. I don't have much to say on it, but I like it.
Probably number 13. Blessed is the one who finds wisdom and the one who gets understanding. Because I feel like I've been, like, in everything that happens with me, I feel so confused about what I should do, why I should do it, and how I should do it. If I, like, understanding, it would be so helpful.
Mm.
You know? Just, like, knowing what's going on. Which we can't really do because we're not God, obviously, but
Yeah.
it still gives us a little, tiny little piece, you know, compared to just total blind darkness.
I love that. My favorite for sure is verse 20, actually. It kind of fits with verse 19.
Everything's fine.
Don't you worry. Definitely did not have one of those puberty, like...
Oh my
What?
god.
That just makes it more.
His voice cracked.
I think you made it worse.
Hold on. If I thicken it...
There goes my
Okay.
paper.
So to clarify
you
what
get?
happened here, Patrick spilled his drink on the paper and is folding it up currently.
To contain.
Yes!
Oh my goodness.
Towel.
Okay, so verse 20 is my favorite. And it's crazy because like we talk about how like God made the earth because of his understanding, because of his wisdom. But then the next verse would like almost contradict what would be the immediate pushback from somebody. It'd be like, okay, like if it was so wise to make the earth, why'd God flood it? like obviously he did something wrong. Right? Or like there was a mistake or something happened. And yet it quotes that and says, no. By his knowledge, the deeps were broken up and the skies dripped the dew. Like that's just like, that's crazy. No, it was God's wisdom that ended up creating the earth that would need to be flooded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You try to understand that and you're like, okay, millions of people were on the earth at one point in time. And God in his wisdom was like, I'm going to save 8 of you. And use a magic eraser on everybody else. And we're gonna start over.
That's the other sin.
Like,
That's the worst one.
And like that was wisdom. He was like, look at that. You're like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy.
So
Yeah.
that's about all we got for today.
Yeah.
I
all the
can't
brain
tell
cells that I
Patrick
have
took
left.
my paper.
Yeah, Patrick did steal Mikalah's paper in order to mop up his paper.
It's called
So-
sealant.
So that's great. All right, guys.
Well,
That's
That was
about it.
great.
Thanks for coming.
What? Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. We have upgraded from a left ear podcast to a left and right ear podcast.
Yeah.
If you would like us to
Figure that
continue this podcast, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Ring the bell for more.
The left ear is purely run off of likes. Okay? We can't keep the motor running without it.
Oh man, that's funny. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Done.